What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today we need to talk about OP-09. I need to give you my usual warning. Do not buy singles of OP-09. I'm not saying never buy them. I'm saying right now don't. And here's the thing. I've told you guys very clearly many times that OP-09 is the best set so far. I told you Premium Booster 01 was the best set. I meant it at the time. But now we have got ourselves this new set, which is even better. So yes, I said 2 sets in a row are the best set. I meant it both times. OP-09 is nuts. The problem with a set like OP-09 being nuts is that people do tend to go a little bit overboard buying singles. And look, this is for any advice in your old pal Wassy. I'm not saying some of these cards aren't going to be pushed up to ridiculous levels or anything like that. But I absolutely am saying that this is a set where people are going to go a little bit silly and we need to be a little bit sensible. I mean, let's have a look at some of the prices people are already paying for some of these cards. Take, for instance, the Monkey the Dragon Special Rare. Let's go for that one, shall we? What we've got here is a card which is selling for way more than is sensible. We've got a couple sales here of $75 and $80. $75 and $80. Now it's a special rare, and special rares are cool. But I picked Monkey the Dragon because who wants Monkey the Dragon? Like, it's not a particularly great playable card. It's not a particularly popular character. This should be a fairly run-of-the-mill, uninspiring special rare. So let's have a look at Awakening of the New Era, shall we? That was the first set that had this style of special rare, and it's a set that's incredibly sought after. And if we have a look at that right now, like the second biggest special rare, that's the Yamato, is currently sitting at $60. Yamato, the really popular one, is sitting at $60. So, do we honestly think Monkey the Dragon is going to end up being more popular than this Yamato? And then the answer is obviously not. Obviously not. Come on. There's no chance. People are just getting overly excited and paying far too much. But then again, if we have a look at the Nami, for instance, that's going to be a different kind of thing. Because, of course, Nami is incredibly popular. So the one sale I can find for this right now is a sale for $175. Now, this is incredibly high. $175 for a special rare is incredibly high. But actually, we have other Nami special rares that have been released over the past couple of years. So we can just look at it. And actually, the Nami special rare from OP-05 is currently sitting at $130. And again, you'll see a big drop here. That's to be expected. And look, I'm not saying that this Nami special rare is going to be at $175. Frankly, it shouldn't be at $175. If the Nami from OP-05, which is becoming much harder to find, is sitting at $130, there's no way that we should be seeing the new Nami from a set which is coming out and is going to be printed for a little while, because that's what new sets do, should be at $175. But at least it's a little bit closer. And actually, we can have a look at, say, 500 years in the future, and there is an Onami there, but that's got a market price of like $100. So, yeah. I know Nami is popular, and Nami should be popular. This all makes perfect sense. But I've just shown you 2 other Nami special rares which are very popular, neither of which have hit a market price of $175. So why are we paying $175 right at the beginning? Remember, pre-releases have happened, but the set isn't actually out yet. So we are in like the worst possible time to buy cards. The hype is pretty much as high as it's ever going to be, with the added bonus of the set isn't probably out yet, so the supply is quite low. So even the higher end special rares, I just don't think this is a particularly good idea. Like, let's take the wanted poster for Luffy. We got a couple of sales here on eBay for $160 and $200. And look, it's the wanted poster Luffy. This is going to be the big special rare in the set. No bones about that whatsoever. This is going to be a very big card. Everybody is going to want this wanted poster of Luffy. It's a great card. But the number one special rare of every special rare which has been released for the One Piece TCG, the actual number one, is Boa Hancock, the one that came around in OP-04. Currently sitting at a market price of about $150 over on TCG Player, but you'll notice it came out, cratered, and then started building back up again. It took time to get up to here properly, and we all know that the pre-sale isn't really real. Oh, look, that's literally what we're talking about here. And my point is, if you're buying that Luffy right now and paying $200 for it, you are basically making a bet that this is going to be a third higher than the highest of every special rare from OP-03 through to OP-08. Of every set we've had with special rares, that this is going to end up being not just the highest, but the highest by a pretty wide margin. Do we really want to be spending that speculatively? I personally don't. When I tell you guys don't buy singles of these sets, I'm not just coming out here shouting at you. I'm telling you I don't think it's a good idea, and I'm not doing it myself. I buy singles. I'm happy buying singles. I ain't buying singles right now. No chance. I expect them all to come down. Now, they might creep back up again over time. They might take a bit longer to come down than normal, but I show you every time. I've showed you a bunch of examples here. It's just not a particularly great idea. Like, if we have a look at the big leader from OP-09 as an example, it's Luffy and people are paying upwards of $100. Somebody apparently spent $219. The most recent sale, slightly more recent than the ones on the screen, was $135. But here's 3 in a row, which I think makes for a better picture. And okay, fine, but why are we paying $135 for a leader? Like, if we go and have a look at the leaders from OP-08 as a nice little example. Actually, no, let's go to OP-07 because the leaders from OP-08 weren't great. We can see, you know, the big one here is Jewelry Bonnie. Biggest leader in the set. First, and very popular character. Firstly, it's about $70. Secondly, look at the graph. Giant spike down on release, and then started building up a little bit afterwards. Second biggest leader from OP-07, we got Boa Hancock. Oh, look, it's $50, and look at the graph. We see the exact same kind of thing going on here. The last set that had really good leaders, the last set which had leaders on a par with OP-09, was Awakening of the New Era. Well, if we have a look at the leaders from Awakening of the New Era, the big one there is also a Luffy. It's like a $65 card. Again, an older set, one that's getting harder to find, and even then, that's been building up. On release, we saw a big drop. So I don't see why we're expecting Leader Luffy from OP-09 to stay at an over $100 card, sometimes significantly, when the far more playable Luffy, and the one from OP-05 is a far more playable Luffy, with, you know, coming in a set that is older and harder to find, is there at a $65 card? Like, I can't see the future. I can't tell you for absolute certain it's definitely coming down. But what I'm doing in this video here is I'm showing you just example after example of cards which are similar to the cards we're looking at here, which firstly all dropped on release, and that's very important. All of these cards drop on release. But secondly, are just nowhere near in terms of value. Like, I'm sorry, but the Luffy leader from OP-05 is a better card from an older set, which is generally harder to find. And you're telling me that that is going to be half the price of the new worst Luffy from the set, which everybody knows is going to keep being reprinted for a little while. Maybe. But it doesn't seem terribly realistic to me. I'm just putting that one out there. Now, the one about which I have absolutely no idea, and I'm going to admit that right off the top here, Goldie Roger. The gold manga of Gold D. Roger. No idea. Absolutely no idea, because it's completely new. Now, I've told you that over in Japan we can do the comparison. If we look at the Japanese cards and use them as a guide, then Gold D. Roger should be roughly 25% higher than the OP-05 manga Luffy. That is what we should be looking at if we follow Japan, which we know is not always the best idea, all right? Doesn't always work like that. But your manga Luffy's got a price of about $2,500 as it stands at the moment. So if we take that and just, add 25%, we end up at $3,125. Now, I'm not saying that is a perfect way to do it, but I am saying that that is essentially what the deal is over in Japan, whereby they've just gone, it's 25% more expensive than this Luffy. Not saying it's perfect, but I am saying that this is something which, as a rough guide, this is where I would start. Now, I'm sure the people selling the Gold D. Roger don't want to start there. And to be fair, English singles do tend to be a bit more expensive than Japanese singles, but we're going proportionally here, so that shouldn't be an issue. So what is it actually selling for? Don't know. Not because I'm stupid, because there aren't any sold items on eBay. None of them are there. Sorry. I can tell you that there's somebody trying to sell an English version for $8,000, but it really shouldn't sell that high. I can tell you someone else is trying to sell one for $20,000. No. No way that sells for $20,000. The best we've got right now is we've got an auction which has been bid up to $4,000 with a couple days left. And I think that is going to be the best we've got. I think we might get to a stage where we just have to go off eBay sold listings from actual auctions, because nobody seems to want to buy it now. And my advice on Gold D. Roger is still my advice for all these cards. My advice is to wait. I can't tell you where this is going to end up, but I honestly think 4,000 seems like the high end. Could be wrong. Again, all I can do here is go off of the proportional prices in Japan and go from there. In Japan, it's about 25% higher than the manga Luffy from OP-05, so it should be the same here. What I can tell you is, as I've shown you throughout this video, prices tend to crash for like every card. Go back to the manga Luffy from OP-05. That was a card that went up and up and up and up and up and up and up, and people were like, there was a point where everyone was telling me, Wassy, you're stupid. We should have bought this on release. It's gone up. You lied to us. And I got some pretty unkind messages because this manga Luffy on release started climbing up. And it peaked at $4,000. And that peaked in June, which is like 6 months after the first sales. And now it's down at $2,500, which is less than the pre-sale price, which was just over $3,000. It took a while, as these things tend to do, but it did come down. This is why I am a huge fan of not buying on release. Doing pre-release, like I keep saying, is even worse. Because even cards like Manga Luffy, which really look like they are going up on release, well, not don't look like it, they are going up on release. Even those cards, there comes a point where they start coming down. Now, I don't know if you wanted to wait nearly a year to pick this up, but if you did, it is significantly less than it was on release. And dropping down, it's not at half price yet from the peak, but it's not too far away. Even the super high-end cards, I'm not buying on release. Obviously, the little ones, we all know they're going to go down. I've not had time to give a bunch of examples of those, but even these big cards, like your Special Rare Nami, your Gold D. Roger, your Wanted Poster Luffy, these are cards that it's very easy to say, well, you know what? These are exceptions. Well, no. I've just shown you a bunch of quote-unquote exception cards from the past few sets, And every example I've given you tells you these cards right now are way too high. I don't know what Goldie Roger's going to be worth. I suppose maybe you can get a bargain now and it just keeps going up. I don't believe that to be true. As with everything, this is friendly advice from your old pal Wassy and nothing more. That is it. But I've shown my working. I haven't just been rambling here. I've given you a bunch of examples. I've explained myself. So now it's over to you guys. What cards do you want to pick up from OP-09? Which cards do you think are going to be big? Tell me all of this and anything else you want to tell me in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at @TheWassy. That's where we talk about One Piece and a whole bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all kinds of fun things. But by far the most important thing is always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wassy Plays.